Hey, my friends, welcome back to another great episode of The Right Compassion. Today, we're going to be processing the episode The Other Side. So, if you have not already listened to The Other Side, I suggest you press the pause button, go back and listen to The Other Side, and then come back here to process this episode with the famous Florida professor, Dr. Russell Sabella. You are in for a special treat. He is currently a professor in the Department of Counseling in the College of Health Professions and Social Work at Florida Gulf Coast University. Let's take a listen. Welcome to another processing episode with my favorite person, Dr. Russ Sabella. At The Right Compassion, we are processing today all of my educators, my school counselors, the other side. And I know that especially in today's time right now, things have been really, really crazy. We had a lot of, hate, a lot of despair, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, a lot of sense of loss. And, sometimes it's just really, really hard to push through and still connect with the other side. So, I'm so happy to have him on the show, and he'll give you a little brief about his books at the end. But let's go ahead and dive in. So, Dr. Sabella, tell us, from you listening to this episode with working with the other side, what did this episode mean to you? How did you process it?
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ashley. Gosh, and it's such a pleasure and honor to be here with you. I really respect all of your work and your passion, your compassion. It really shows through. I probably watched way too many of your YouTube videos. I'm up late watching all that stuff you put out. It's so wonderful. Well, gosh, what a powerful video in just a short time. You really packed it in. I mean, you talked about first of all, the other side. That's my first reaction. What I've learned over the years through advocacy and leadership and communication and empathic listening is that there's usually more than two sides, isn't there? There's your side, my side, and then the truth. And what that tells me is that, we all have biases. We all have missions. We have objectives. And so even if we're trained to be good listeners, sometimes it's just really hard. And so it takes a lot of practice. We have to remind ourselves, even as professional listeners, to really put our biases aside, to really not only listen, not to listen to respond, but to listen to truly understand where is this person coming from. And that's such an important part of leadership. But it has gotten really complicated these days. And one of the things I also know about leadership and counselors is that many of our skills really lend themselves well to leadership and advocacy and influencing, listening and verbalizing and facilitating, all good stuff. However, one of the things that holds us back when it comes to advocating and building our programs and really doing what's right for kids is that and this is really, what's the word I'm looking for? It's counterintuitive. We're so used to helping people, but when it comes to building programs and setting up policy and challenging systemic kinds of forces, sometimes it goes beyond people. It goes toward our mission. And so I know for me and for a lot of counselors, working towards the mission isn't always compatible with helping people. If some people get in the way of the mission, as counselors, we can't help them. We have to actually respectfully kind of move them over to the side so that we can develop equitable, accessible, data-driven school counseling programs for all kids. So, listening is important. It's really important helping people. And helping people is an important part of leadership and advocacy. However, there are times when we change our hats. We move from counselor to advocate to leader. And sometimes that means that this is bigger than all of us. And so we have to respectfully disagree. We have to respectfully let people know that what they're doing is not in the best interest of kids. Although I'm going to work really hard here to try to help you understand Maybe it's your biases that are getting in the way, and I may have to after a while be able to kind of tell myself I can't influence this person, and so this person is not going to get it. They're not listening to the facts, and so I may have to just kind of move them aside and keep going on my mission. That's different. That's different than being a counselor and helping people. We're talking two different things here with some overlap. How do we use our helping skills to influence and help others? However, when is it that those have limits? When it is that we're trying to advocate, lead, and make some systemic changes.
And I'm glad that you said that, because, there does become a point where, we have to, as educators, continue our advocacy. However, I loved how you say in a respectful way, because at the end of the table, the opposition will still be there. And it's in the way that, we understand who we are and how we come to the table. I believe, like, us as educators, we are some of the most compassionate beings, and we've taken a lot,
Yeah. And the other thing in the clip that you mentioned is, really using your heart. And that's, the majority of people have their heart in the right place, even though they mean well, their hearts are in the right place. They're doing the best they can with what they know at the time. They seem to still get in the way of helping kids. Now, I hate to say this, but every now and again, there's a few people that you meet that their heart is not in the right place. They are doing what they're doing, not really to help kids, although that's how they disguise it. They're doing it for power. They're doing it for attention. They're doing it even just to win an argument. And I think as a counselor, as a leader and an advocate, we always know why we're doing what we're doing. So if you and I are kind of really having a very intense, needed conversation, my purpose is always first and foremost, and that is how is it that you and I are going to come to an understanding so that we can help kids or develop stuff that helps them along. The goal can never be that I need to convince you or win an argument or anything like that, because so what? But again, if the purpose is us to figure out how it is that we're going to get on the same page in order to help kids, I think that usually goes a lot better.
And I love how, before you give like your lasting words on advice, is that sometimes, when we, view the other side, it's automatically, it's just obvious those that oppose us. But it's really, like, when I think about it, it's on both ends. So you can still be, against something or someone or some, specific belief or value, but it's like looking within yourself. And I love the fact that you said we, because at the end of the day, we still have to work together. And so if you are truly in it for the commitment that, we want all of our students to be successful, we want all of our families to be successful, then we have to come, to a middle point where we have to team up, despite there may be a little bit of, being uncomfortable, but that's how we move forward. And I actually mentioned, always, the power of the previous leaders that we had, with their opposition. Like when I think of, Martin Luther King, right? When I think of Gandhi, like those leaders that still had to work with the, other side. They stayed true to their identity and respectfully, came forth. But I also think about the people that were in opposition with them and how they, had to, realize some things and come to the table. So I truly believe, there is power in working, with all sides involved if we are going to, create the society that we want. So tell us, Dr. Sabella, just some last, like, what advice would you, give to us as educators and, school counseling moving forward with, working with the other side?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess, was my advice worth? I don't know. But I can tell you about my experiences. My experiences over the years, and it's not, they're not from pleasant experiences. I think the strongest leaders really are strong because of how it is they've learned to navigate some very unpleasant experiences. Leadership is not always pleasant. And so I would say that dealing with the other side, or another side, I'd probably be more comfortable saying with another side, is it takes patience, it takes time. And, all of us are so strung out for time, and you will not communicate and understand well if you don't carve out the time to really sit down and focus. If
Yeah.
you're thinking of other things and you're eager to get to the next meeting, then it's not going to go well. So I just think it takes time. I also think things are moving so fast, and so what was right last week may not be right this week. And so we all have to be flexible. I've learned, this is not, I way back in the day, I don't think I did this really well. I'm getting much better at it, after 20 or 30 years, but to be able to look in the mirror first, to say, well, is it possible that I'm wrong on this? And to really be open to that. As well as, so instead of kind of, really just feeling so strongly. And so, maybe there is another side.
No, we just like, ooh, but yeah.
Yeah. So just really listening with the mindset that, I want to learn. Maybe I missed something, maybe I'm wrong. And what I find is that after doing that, it's oftentimes I'm reinforced for, I think I'm right. But so I think, taking the time, being open to being wrong, being open to knowing that things have changed. And, here's the thing too, we keep thinking about politics and the democratic process and democracy and all that stuff. And yes, democracy is fragile. It's fragile. And we know this in counseling just because of group work. Yes. Group work takes more effort. Coming together and working as a group. Here's what we know. The advantage is that we're probably going to come up with a better product. We're going to come up with better solutions because we're going to tap into different perspectives. But that comes at a price. It takes longer. There's often conflict. So we've got to stick. If we really think this is worth it, we have to navigate the group process. And that takes a lot of effort. It takes patience. It takes time, but we'll get there. And so I thank you for the messages that you've given. It really does take some compassion and some really good counseling skills as well.
I love it. Well, thank you. You have given like some amazing words of wisdom. I had no doubt in my mind. I was like, oh, Dr. Sabella, he's going to give us the juice. So I am just so excited because it just really sets all of us on fire to, not give up because it's easy, Yeah,
I'll say one more thing too. And as a solution focused person, I think sometimes, if I'm sitting talking with somebody, sometimes you get caught up in the moment as to what's right and who's right, and so that's one thing. We can't really focus on who's right, but what's right. But what's right we can remind ourselves by really just answering one question, and that is, the hypothetical, the miracle. If you and I finally agreed and we got along and we were respecting each other, what is it that we're going to accomplish for kids and for families? And if we work backwards, I think that might be helpful.
Wow. That just struck like an emotional, just like, I want to jump out, but I'm going to keep it all together here. But no, that is truly awesome. I am just, really, really just inspired by your work, by your teaching. Always have heard, great things in the content that you have, because it just helps us do life together, and I'm just,
that's good.
I'm so just, helpful that, there is no, just playbook. You got to live this way. We have all of these experiences. So you've given us just some, more tools and strategies that not only do we just do in our school counselor or our educator role, but just even as a human, how can we respond to certain situations? So thank you so much. I wanted to know if there were any, resources or things you want to put out for your content?
Not really. If anything, just go to my website, schoolcounselor.com. You'll see some fun stuff there.
Okay. Well, we are so excited that you joined us for this processing episode with Dr. Sabella. And so we will see you on the next The Right Compassion. Thanks so much for listening today. I know that was a lot of information in about 10 minutes, But I'm so excited that we can all just have some time to really reflect on just situations that we have come across that have been so opposing. You can't give up. You have to keep pushing. You have to move forward. You have to press forward and think about who and what you're pressing forward to and the outcome that you desire that will make all of our students be better learners, better world changers, and just be better humans. Thank you again for listening. Want the right compassion to grow? Feel free to donate to the Right Compassion. All proceeds will help meet technology expenses and create so many multiple platforms to continue serving you, educators, families, and all youth. Please visit RSS and look at the podcast, and there is a link for donation, or scan the QR code. Once again, thanks for listening. See you on the next The Right Compassion.